Shalom, shalom everyone. Okay, this is my second attempt to try to get this video. I've been having a lot of trouble getting this video out. I mean, here I made this preview yesterday when I was on my Sabbath hike saying I'm going to make this consolidated video where I amass all the research from Phil McConnell, Timothy Homseth, myself, other sources, even Q, to reveal Pence the pedophile, the satanic pedophile. Him and his wife, they're both satanic pedophiles and serial murderers. And man, at first I tried to make this video, I was 6 minutes into it, I cut off because some strange message came across my phone, then my phone stopped working because Juneau, we got an earthquake last night, at 5.1 earthquake. It's actually about 100 miles northwest of here, about 50 miles west of Haines, Alaska. So 5.1, it shook my apartment, my couch, no damage. But this earthquake happened almost just after I'd made that video or posted that video about me revealing Pence. And so I've been having a lot of trouble getting this video out, but I'm going to do it. If you're new to my channel, my name's Daniel Lee. I live here in beautiful, beautiful Juneau, Alaska. In fact, last night was the first time I experienced an earthquake here that I've lived here for the last 2 years. I live here in beautiful Juneau, Alaska. My mission statement's very clear. I preach and teach the Hebrew Jewish roots of the Christian faith on my website, spiritandtorah.com. I exalt Jesus, Yahshua the Messiah, the Holy One of Israel. He is the only way, truth, and the life. I expose satanic pedophiles through investigative journalism on my YouTube. I've been doing this for well over a year. I provide satanic ritual abuse survivors a platform to speak out on. I protect the innocent children by virtue of these other things. And I lead a nightly Zoom room prayer meeting every single night. We pray for President Trump, this nation, other subscribers, and each other. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to do a video where I consolidate all the research to totally and completely expose pedophile Pence and all of that he's done. Before I do that, I want to really quickly touch on Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her supposed appearances. I think a lot of you have still missed this video that got, I think, well over 50,000 views, but still many of you seem like you haven't seen it. So you know, for months I've been reporting on Ruth Bader Ginsburg being dead, and she is dead. She died back in January. And this was confirmed, my months of reporting on this was confirmed in early July. I put a video up in early July where my Navy intel source confirmed that yes, she died back in January. The deep state stole her body. They burned the cadaver before the White Hats Patriots could get it, and then they put out a body double. Not a clone, a body double. And I put that video out in early July, just before I went on my second trip to the DC, where I preached in front of the White House and I attended the 4th of July rally. But it seems like it's still a lot of you have missed that. So go watch that video if you haven't seen it. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dead. And a lady who regularly attends our prayer group, she's, I'll just say her first name, Lynn. She's been attending our prayer group since early January, so last 8-9 months. And she actually lives on the East Coast. So she went to one of the appearances that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had at the Library of Congress. She said, "Hi Daniel, I went to the Library of Congress to see Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They told me she was at the convention center instead. So I went to the convention center, but they closed that area 2 hours prior. They live streamed the event on the YT channel, YouTube channel, Library of Congress. I watched most of it. If you watch it, pay particular attention when they zoom out and show Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legs. They look way too long to be someone of her supposed height." Remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, when she was alive, she was a very, very short lady. The person looks like she's in her 50s or 60s. The voice doesn't even sound that wobbly. She was up on stage so no one could get close. I didn't see it from the beginning, but I bet she was already seated when it started. Towards the end, they said she was going to have another appearance in Arkansas that's already sold out with 16 to 18,000 people on the waiting list. How very convenient. I tried my best, Daniel. Hopefully I'll see you guys tonight. Okay, so that's a live witness that I had that tried to go. She was given the runaround. She watched the live stream. It's a body double. It's a body double. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dead. And why are the other justices not saying anything about it? Because the Chief Justice, John Roberts, is a compromised satanic pedophile himself. In fact, pedophilia has been going on both sides of the aisle in the Supreme Court. You guys got to get rid of, I know a lot of you have, but those of you who haven't need to get rid of this left-right paradigm. Okay, just like liberal Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been pushing pedophilia with 11-year-old children and younger since the 70s. Antonin Scalia, who was supposedly this hero of the conservative right, he was a sick, serial, satanic pedophile. If you don't believe me, watch the 2 interviews I did with David Schroeder. When he was a little boy, he was raped viciously by Antonin Scalia. Antonin Scalia loved using weapons and knives and S&M in bondage to rape little children. And the reason Antonin Scalia died was not some deep state plot. It was because the little boy he was raping at that ranch took the knife out of Antonin Scalia's hands and slit Antonin Scalia's throat in an act of self-defense. And this is why it was all covered up. So, you know, it's not left-right paradigm anymore. This is why we're so blessed to have President Trump. He doesn't fit into the Republican, Democrat, left-right paradigm mold. He's his own person. He doesn't need to be paid by lobbyists. And so he can bust up all the satanic pedophilia going on across the political spectrum. Whether it's liberal or conservative, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. So let's get into Mike Pence. And again, I said yesterday that because I had heard from Mark Taylor's friend who is starting these home congregations and helping others to plant home congregations, he was really concerned. He's like, Daniel, why are you saying all this negative stuff about Mike Pence? I thought he's this patriotic Christian. First of all, if you want to know why Mike Pence wound up being a vice president to President Trump, you need to watch my video, Michael Flynn versus Mike Pence. I made this last fall. It goes into very detailed analysis information of why Mike Pence wound up being a vice president, okay? Now, President Trump is, thank Yah, we have President Trump. But let's go into Mike Pence. So first of all, what we're going to start off with is Q's post 3330. This was posted back on April 27th, 2019. And he quotes an article from Sarah Carter, where it says, breaking FBI texts show agents discussed recruiting White House sources to spy for the Bureau. And Q writes, chain of command, chain of custody, Pence's chief of staff plus his wife, FBI 302's FISA spy Flynn, Michael Flynn, will newly discovered evidence, AG Barr, SDNY, free Flynn, Q. Yeah, this whole thing was a huge Russian hoax. We know that now. And yet Pence's chief of staff and wife, working in conjunction with the corrupt FBI and DOJ at that time, foisting this Russia collusion hoax, Mike Pence, working with them, confronted Flynn, accused Flynn of lying, and got rid of Flynn. That's the first red flag or clue you should have of Pence. This was like day 1 or 2 of right after the inauguration. All right, so Pence is deep state. He's very much deep state. Now, I want to go to Timothy Homseth. I'm going to play a little portion here of Timothy Homseth. This was posted last March. And, Timothy Homseth's YouTube channel was taken down because of this very video.
And I have unique information about satanic ritual abuse in Indiana and involving the locations of entire tunnel systems used by the Luciferians. Okay, and that leads me to number 3. 2 words. Tory Smith. T-O-R-Y Smith. Google it. According to a man named Tory Smith, Mike Pence has raped hundreds of children. I even have unconfirmed information that Pence ritually murdered a child. Now bear in mind, I did not even know who Tory Smith was until very recently, yet I already knew about everything that he talks about. This has just been a compass so you can navigate the issue of Mike Pence. More information will be to come by me, but I felt that QAnoners need this because if Donald Trump is assassinated, if President Trump is assassinated, Mike Pence becomes the president.
Okay, so people have discounted Tory Smith because Tory Smith, I think he had AIDS and was a homosexual, even though that has nothing to do with his testimony. I can be an atheist and still say something true about gravity being real. Okay, so testimony is not necessarily affected by a person's lifestyle. I'm not saying I agree with how Tory Smith lived or the things that he was involved in, but the point I want to bring out, I'm not even going to bring up Tory Smith's testimony. What I want to bring up is the point that Timothy Homseth had already been doing intense investigation and already received understandings of the satanic pedophile networks and hubs in Indiana while Pence was governor, way before he even heard of Tory Smith. Now, the way that I stumbled upon this last summer was Lift the Veil. Nathan Stallman had done an interview with a gentleman named Mike and then a lady named Amy. These were two satanic ritual abuse survivors from the state of Indiana. And they both gave very heartfelt testimonies of the satanic ritual abuse that they'd undergone when they were little children in Indiana. So this is going back way back into like the 50s and 60s. Now, a lot of people have since discounted Mike the Deplorable because of the things of the fallout between him and Vegan Mikey and Isaac Cappy, and I don't want to get into all that. But even if you want to discount his testimony, Amy, her testimony is still, I believe, valid. Now, if you try to go to those testimonies that Nathan Stoltman interviewed them, and I have it linked underneath my original video of Michael Flynn versus Mike Pence, it now says that Nathan Stoltman has put those on private, so you can't even access those interviews anymore. But I'm telling you, I watched those interviews, and their interviews, their testimonies were absolutely true. They had no reason to lie. And again, if you want to discount Mike the Deplorable, you can still listen to Amy's testimony. There are satanic pedophile, satanic ritual abuse networks, pedo rings that have been going on in Indiana for decades. And the governors of Indiana, since the 1950s onward, they've all been complicit. They have all been tied into these satanic pedophile hubs, and this is what Timothy Holmseth has uncovered and what he's put forth. And you can look and dig more into the stuff he's found out through, about Tina Church and that corrupt investigator and all that stuff. I don't want to get into that, but this is why Timothy Holmseth is being so persecuted right now. So this is what Timothy Holmseth uncovered. I saw those interviews, and then I started putting two and two together. I was like, wait a minute. So Mike Pence, he was governor of Indiana. He must have known about these satanic pedophile rings. The satanic ritual abuse was going on. At the very least, he must have known. And at the very worst, he must have been involved in this. Now, I want to talk about what Field McConnell has said. Field McConnell, former Marine, still a Marine, once Marine, always Marine, he has shown proof that on July 4th, Mike Pence was going to try to assassinate President Trump. That assassination was foiled. He was not allowed to go up to New Hampshire and meet with John Sununu to finalize the details of the assassination plot. He was restricted, never was able to go there. And instead, right after July 4th, he got on his plane, which whenever he's on any type of aircraft, it has to be Air Force 2. That has to be the call signs. He got on his plane to go to Indiana, got halfway there, the plane turned around and the call signs were changed to SAR 239. Special Air Force, Special Air Force Missions, SAM 239. And of course, when those call signs are changed and Pence is on board, that means he's been stripped of his authority. He's no longer considered or has the authority of a vice president. Now, SAM 239, it's really interesting what that means. We go to 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 39. Hey, President Trump is way ahead on these things, and most people have to catch up. 1 Samuel 2:39. Again, the call sign was Sam 239. So 1 Samuel 2:39. Wait a minute. There is no 1 Samuel 2. Maybe it's 2 Samuel. Hold on. Second Samuel. No, there's no 2 Samuel 2:39 either. It's something about the ephod. Let me see if I got this right. I might have gotten the call sign wrong. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure I am as accurate as possible. I need to have Phil McConnell on my show. I interviewed him when I was, at the... it is Sam 2:39, but there is no 1 Samuel 2:39, so I don't know what he's quoting from. Somebody said that he was quoting from an actual Bible verse in... it was about the ephod. Why am I not finding this? Phil McConnell read it the other day, but there, 2 Samuel 2 only goes to verse 32, and 1 Samuel 2, which I'm almost sure he said 1 Samuel 2. 1 Samuel 2 only goes to verse 36. So I don't know what the deal is. I'll have to go and research this again. I thought there was a Bible verse that was connected to those call signs, but in any case, it doesn't really matter because the call signs changed, and that indicates that either Pence died, which he didn't die. There's no body double out there. All that stuff's nonsense. It's that Pence has been stripped of his administrative authority. Now, you know, President Trump, the military, Q, they have a lot more information than we do, so there's a reason why Pence has not been removed from office yet. Remember, President Trump is a master at putting people in positions and then taking them away. So he's used different deep state people to throw the deep state off, and then he removes them. So I wasn't trying to suggest that President Trump doesn't know. Of course, President Trump knows that Pence is a satanic pedophile. He knows this, just like he knows about Kenneth Copeland and people that are on his current spiritual board of advisors. But there's a reason why he's keeping it on, probably to confuse and put off the deep state. What I was trying to make the point of is I'm putting this video together because I know President Trump does listen to me. He listened to me when I called him out on the homosexual text that he put out, you know, lauding the Pride Month for June. He actually removed that text after I called him out on it. And then he ordered all the embassies not to fly the sodomite, the homosexual pride flag. So he did listen to me, or he listened to someone who gave him that information. So my only hope is that I'm putting all this information together so that President Trump, even though he knows all this stuff, he loves to retweet, or he loves to use information that just everyday Americans put out there just to show the validity. This isn't just some thing that he's coming out with on his own, that this has been well researched. And you know, Timothy Homestead, an award-winning journalist, okay, very well researched. Phil McConnell, a Marine with a lot of integrity, and seems to know a lot more, at least in certain areas, than I do. My military sources, of course, they can't confirm or deny, but when I have talked to my military sources about Pence, they just said, Daniel, keep on going on the track that you're headed. That's all we'll say. Keep on going on the track that you're headed. Now, here's something interesting that a subscriber sent to me about Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska, if I'm pronouncing that right. His last name is S-A-A-S-E. He says, could you do some looking into Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska regarding his connections to Vice President Pence? He's the only senator from Nebraska who won't give support in President Trump's re-election campaign. But yet his voting record is in support of 96% of Trump's bills. So that leads me to believe that there would be only one reason he would write in Pence's name, and that would be to cover for sex trafficking, child sex trafficking. Wouldn't that make sense? Why else would you not support the re-election of a standing president when you have supported him 96% of the time? The new federal judge, Brian Boucher, was supported by Sasse also. All right, so that's definitely something that I need to look into more thoroughly. But Mike Pence, and you'll see that not only was he instrumental in removing Michael Flynn, and Michael Flynn knows all about these satanic pedophiles, the network, the hubs, and all that stuff. Mike Pence did that. Q has reaffirmed that by drawing our attention again to Mike Pence's chief of staff and wife, who were in the pockets of the deep state. Mike Pence puts on a good show, but Satan comes as an angel of light. They know how to put on a good show. And again, watch my video, Michael Flynn versus Mike Pence from last fall. You'll understand exactly why Mike Pence wound up being a vice president. And you're going to see all this stuff is absolutely true. So this is all the information that I have on Mike Pence. It conclusively shows he's a satanic pedophile. He's a cannibal. He eats little babies. He's murdered babies. His wife is his handler. They received notes just like everyone else did. And remember, Q said what those notes were. He said it was our response to the deep state trying to, again, it's one of their many assassination attempts against President Trump that happened last year. And Q said, this is our response. Well, why would Karen Pence and her husband, Mike, why would they need to get a note about that unless they were on the evil side as well? So Q has talked about that. Now, I want to talk about real quickly this Hurricane Dorian. I know this video is going long, but Ken, who lives down in Fort Myers, Florida, he's been sending me stuff just constantly throughout the weekend. I've been just trying to make sure he can verify this, but he's showing me his own radars that he's looking at, and there's nothing there. There's just nothing there. He says that this whole hurricane is a big deep state psyop, and there's nothing there. Now, is this true? He's saying there's only 60-mile-per-hour winds, that this whole Category 4 thing is a bunch of nonsense, and there's nothing there. So I wanted to put that out there just to see if I get some other people on the ground who can compare actual radar images to what the deep state mouthpiece of the Weather Channel is putting out there. You know, Donald Trump tweeted about it and talked about the storm and how I got people ready for the storm. It almost seems like he's, again, putting out another parable. Also, confusion as the Pentagon's research branch issues a call for abandoned tunnels spanning several city blocks that it can use for experimentation. And the deadline is just 2 days away. This is posted August 28th. These giant tunnels. Sorry, I don't know why that screen's in the way, but these giant tunnels that they want to use for experimentation, like what is this about? And I think even Joe M tweeted about this morning. You know, I'm tired of the secrets. I'm tired of the lies. But what is all this about? Why is the Pentagon wanting these huge tunnels? I did a major story several weeks ago about Pentagon's, I mean, literally hundreds of computers in the Pentagon system being filled with child porn. What's going on? We need to get to the bottom of this. Really good news here. The storm has arrived in China. The Hong Kong dam just broke and anti-tyranny protests are about to flood over the rest of the mainland. There are 1.3 billion people in China. We're on the verge of a Chinese spring. The world is being healed. And this is from Breitbart. Reports mainland Chinese joining pro-democracy Hong Kong protesters. Of course, if you saw my video from the Seattle Space Needle when I was there the other night, you saw all the praise and worship going on amongst the protesters throughout Hong Kong. It's like a revival is just sweeping Hong Kong. Well, now it's going into China. Now it's going into China. So, just interesting stuff there. Okay, so I guess that's all I want to talk about. This video has gone way longer than I normally have a video. The military vet that I plugged a few days ago that is looking to raise money, he had the PTSD. Thank you. Many of you said that you were sent by me and you helped him. I got word that he's still about $1,000 short of what he's trying to raise. So if you can go back and if you feel led or the Spirit's impressing on your heart to help him out, please do so. Thank you everybody for your prayers and your support. This is my full-time career. I love doing this. I love doing this. So if you want to help me out, the easiest way to is my PayPal. That is a link right below this video. It's in the description box. I also have a Patreon. You click on that, you can pledge any monthly amount you'd like, and that amount is taken out of your bank account at the beginning of each month. If you're old school, you don't want to use the internet, you prefer to use good old-fashioned snail mail, I have a P.O. box that's also right below this video. And I do send thank yous to all my internet donations, but I'm just too overwhelmed with letters, so I don't have time to write letters out anymore. But if you enclose your email address in your letter, I'll make sure to send you a thank you. If you have a prayer request, you want our prayer team to pray for you because we do meet every night, my email is also right below this video. To unfold the description box, you got to hit the little down arrow, the show more. If you have a handheld device, there's an upside down triangle. There's a lot of different ways YouTube has to unfold that description box. You just scroll down through my donation links and you'll eventually find my email. Email me your prayer request. I'll get it to our prayer team and we will pray for you. All right, hallelujah. I have my own kayak now. Don't have to rent one. I have my own kayak, so I'm thinking of strapping it to the top of my car, driving out to the lake and kayaking right up to the face of the glacier. So maybe I'll get that on video today and show it to you because we have a beautiful, beautiful September 1st Labor Day weekend day where it's about 60 degrees and just a beautiful sunny weather and the waters are calm and cool. All right. God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom. Thank you again for all your support. And I hope finally now that I've consolidated all this research and things that I've dug up over the past year plus, along with Timothy Holmseth and what he's found, along with what Phil McConnell discovered, putting all this research together, also with Q's post from last April, that you'll be able to see the full picture. And that if you've been on the fence about Pence, you know now he's a satanic pedophile. President Trump, we're with you, we support you, remove him from office for his satanic pedophilia behavior, and it will show the world that you're not just doing this out of political motivation against your political enemies, but you're even willing to remove your own vice president to expose and take down, arrest, and hopefully, eventually, under a court of law, publicly execute these satanic pedophiles, including our sitting vice president. This is not a threat against the vice president. I want him to go through a court of law and be held accountable for his crimes. Shalom, shalom.